Welcome everybody to the MDS slot in this presentation sequence. My name's Steve Bowen. I'm the CEO of MDS Global. I've been in that position for the last 2 years, and it's been an interesting journey for sure. Today I want to talk about cashing in on co-creation, unlocking, as the title says, unlocking profitability with the Enterprise MVNO, with the MVNO opportunity. I think from our perspective, we see the market shifting significantly. MVNOs are moving away from those standard packages of minutes, SMS, and data. But data specifically is going to become increasingly important for everything that MVNOs do. And the market is expanding into business services. And you can see 3 examples on the slide here: mobile banking, health as a service, and live on air. And it seems ridiculous to think that these are actually very mature markets now, despite the sort of the whole B2B space really only evolving in the last few years. Nevertheless, mobile banking's been with us forever, and live on air, where every wannabe journalist is out there now with a GoPro trying to become the next super YouTuber to generate their salaries from. But this new market opportunity, these business services, does represent a real opportunity for MVNOs to go out and generate a much more profitable market for themselves. And it's because MVNOs should be able to offer a nimbleness and an agility to the market that's going to make that possible for them. If you think about historically, MVNOs have been very focused on the consumer market, and they've probably reached the limit of their profitability now. Why is that? Because it's very crowded, there's a propensity for prepaid services, and there's literally no barriers now for switching providers. There's a lot of competition out there who are putting incentives for people to churn. So it's not a great market in which to both enter or try to seek to generate bigger margins. And that's where B2B does have a part to play. There's going to be an opportunity for increased revenues and better margins, because those customers are going to have the opportunity to generate higher ARPUs than their consumer equivalents. And the point here is that the MVNOs, the MVNOs that worked well in the consumer market can now shift into that B2B space and provide that same flexibility, that same adaptability, and that commercial flexibility that they deployed into the consumer, now deploying that profitably for themselves in the B2B space. Just how big is the opportunity? Well, again, it depends who you speak to. Research that we've looked at by analysts at Research and Markets suggests that by 2026, the 5G market specifically could be worth as much as 8.2 billion. 60% of that will continue to be focused on the consumer space. So there's plenty for those consumer-oriented MVNOs to go after. But more importantly, the view is that roughly 3.1 billion of that market share is going to be going into the B2B space. That's a huge amount of opportunity there for MVNOs that want to branch out and do something very different. But what we also believe is that in this new B2B space, we can expect business curators, that's a term that we're using, to emerge as being the predominant sort of relationship that MVNOs are going to need to work with. MVNOs can't be expected to be experts in every segment and sub-segment in all the different markets that the B2B space offers. So these business curators are going to be they're going to be entrepreneurial, they're possibly going to be people, they're possibly going to be businesses that already exist today, and they're just looking to define new business models for themselves. So those business curators are going to be what links the MVNO with the end consumer, but probably being somebody that interacts in the middle, and that will become the second B in that B2B, business curators. So ultimately, the model that we're building here is a B2B to C or a B2B to X. And that's the space in which we think opportunities going to arrive. And these business curators are going to define the services, not the network operators. The network operators are too far removed from what the consumer wants. These curators are going to be the people that understand what the service needs to be. And from an MVNO point of view, they should be able to work with those business curators to understand what the value gap is. And it's the value gap that's important here. So let me illustrate that with an example. Let's take a security company that's offering alarm systems to a company that happens to own a number of different premises. It's an app-based system that leverages Wi-Fi to notify the owners of intruders that happen to go onto those premises, out of hours. Typically, it's a system that's going to be powered by Wi-Fi, but now it's going to also have a 5G backup to provide that sort of assured connectivity. So if the power goes down, either accidentally or deliberately, 5G will kick in, network slice will be provisioned, and that service can continue now operating over a 5G network rather than the Wi-Fi. And when the power comes back up, the system will automatically switch back over to Wi-Fi. So what we're seeing here is this isn't about assured connectivity. This is now about a service company going to another business and selling a security service, providing the owners of that business the comfort and the surety that their premises are going to be protected 24/7. And so typically the commercial relationship there will be around that protection and that service assurance, not about a connectivity solution. So there's a value gap there. And ultimately, the business buying that security service is going to pay a premium. And that premium represents the value gap, and MVNOs have got to work together with those business curators to understand how much of that value gap are they going to be able to take. So what this also means then is that if MVNOs are going to start going after these value gaps and working with multiple business curators, they're going to need to have very flexible and adaptable commercial relationships with their MNOs. Typically MNOs are quite slow and cumbersome to adapt to the new world. Hence, the business curators who are looking to define all of these services really quickly, it's not really appropriate for them to have those relationships directly with the MNO. That's where the MVNO comes in, because they're going to provide that commercial flexibility and let the MVNO deal with the commercial relationships that need to sit at the back end with the MNO. So it's really about starting at the front and working backwards. What's the end customer looking to buy in terms of a service? Who are the curators and entrepreneurial businesses that are going to deliver those services? Therefore, what does the MVNO need to provide to ensure they can be delivered reliably and for the right price? And then turning backwards onto the MNO, making sure the MVNO has got those right commercial relationships with the MNO. And it's those wholesale agreements that are going to be really, really important. So, as I've said, business curators are going to be entrepreneurial in nature. They could be coming into the market for the first time, or they could be an existing business that has a product today, but sees an opportunity to turn that product into a service tomorrow. But in order to turn that into a service, it's going to need a connectivity solution to underpin it. And that's where the MVNO comes on board. And again, another example, you can see a picture of the gas bottle there. There's a company in Mexico who sell gas bottles to regions that are not connected onto the gas mains. So they deliver gas bottles out to houses, but then there's a subset of that population that are quite poor. They can't really afford to buy a gas bottle all at once and pay for it up front. So gas company works together with an MVNO to come up with an innovative solution built around a SIM card and a device that allows the gas bottle to communicate usage back to the gas company through the SIM card and onto the connectivity solution. That enables the gas company to now sell gas to the poor the poor segment of that population based on usage. So they deliver the gas bottle, customer doesn't have to pay anything for that, but it's got this usage system built into it, and as the customer's using gas, they're paying on a per usage basis. So lots of benefits there shared. One, customer doesn't have to pay a big upfront cost for the gas bottle, only paying for what they use. Secondly, ultimately, the price per unit is probably going to be a little bit higher for that benefit, and so the gas company is going to get a little bit more money for their gas bottle once it's empty. The secondary benefit is, of course, knowing what usage is out there on its gas bottles. It can actually optimize its delivery network, so only delivering to those houses where the gas bottle needs to be replaced, as opposed to either journeying, finding out the bottle's still half full, and therefore not having to present. So you can see, great example, company had a product with a connectivity solution. They've turned the product into a service, working entrepreneurially with a local MVNO. And I think lots of companies out there are going to be looking at that form of transformation in one form or another. And MVNOs are going to be a big part of that solution, not least because around that solution, there's going to be a need to wrap any number of different value-added services that are fundamental to the connectivity, whether it be a security wrapper, private VPNs, whether it be a personalization wrapper to ensure customers are getting exactly what they need first time using AI, whether it's linked to social networks or any other sort of wrapper that can be adding value to that connectivity solution. That's where the MVNO has got a big part to play. So MVNOs are perfectly positioned here. If you approach it from the customer's point of view, the companies that provide these services are going to become your customers. You're going to be once removed from the end consumer. B to B to C, B to B to X. Your agility and flexibility is what's going to position you better than your competition to those business curators, to those entrepreneurial businesses that are looking to find new services. So that's going to enable you to reach specialist markets. Your commercial flexibility will allow entrepreneurs and curators to spin up new services very quickly, fast time to market, capture the opportunity, and then either spin it down or modify it as the customer trend or the customer fashion changes. And being able to spin up and spin down opportunities is going to be very key. But of course, you need commercial flexibility to do that. And the MVNO is perfectly positioned to provide that flexibility, but it must have the right commercial relationship with the MNO. And that's going to be a challenge. We know that. In some instances, MNOs are going to be quite protective of the space that you as an MVNO want to go into. They may want to try and get into that space themselves using sub-brands. Nevertheless, there will be some innovative MNOs out there who are prepared to work and are prepared to deliver the right commercial solution for you. And I think that's something that you should be looking to achieve. It could well be that in order to deliver the services that you want to deliver, you've got multiple MNO relationships at the back end, each one providing a different component of the connectivity solution that you're offering to your business curators or your enterprise customers. So I think, again, a good positioning here for MVNOs to tap into that B2B opportunity. However, it's all very well and good having this great front end, delivering great services into customers. But, there's going to be some investment needed at that front end in order to maximize the customer experience. And because that investment is going to be needed, it's important that you're also getting the basics right, that your operating footprint is absolutely at the lowest possible level in order to free up cash, free up investment potential to throw it at the front end. So you've got to look at automation. You've got to look at AI. You don't want to be investing in lots of call centers with hundreds of people sitting in it. You want to provide self-service so customers can actually serve themselves rather than picking up the phone. You've got to look at other technologies like eSIM to allow customers to engage with those services really, really quickly. You know, the eSIM today is removing barriers to entry or barriers to sort of provisioning. And I think these are the sorts of technologies that are going to allow you to reduce your operating footprint, and reduce your cost to serve. And again, technologies such as AI, machine learning allows you to provide a personalization layer over the top of that as well. So that's just getting the basics right, getting that stuff that you're doing today, but doing it even better, and almost trying to get to a lights out type of operation in the back office, so that you can focus all of the efforts on the front end, whether it be delivering great experiences or actually doing customer acquisition. That's really key. So who's doing it today? There's a lot of people doing it. We currently work with a business, an MVNE actually just started in Mexico, VADSA. They've just launched their first MVNO, Exis. It's a new digital MVNO. And whilst there is a consumer market to go after, actually they're going straight into the business market. And they're forming some interesting partnerships with ADT and Sprint to deliver financial and security processes into the local Mexican market. They also plan to be a one-stop shop for branches or brands to launch new innovative services. So these brands effectively, in the discussion that we've just had, become those business curators. So these are businesses that already have a great customer base, and they're now looking to exploit that by developing innovative services, leveraging their brand and leveraging the customer base that they've got. But they need help, because to reach those customers, they're going to start turning products into services and delivering it through a digital experience. So that's, I mean, and look, VADSA's not the only one, clearly. We've talked about the gas bottle example, and we've talked about the assured connectivity example, both real. In terms of MDS, what does MDS play in all of this? Well, you know, B2B is actually our DNA. You know, we've been in the B2B space probably for 30 years. You know, our first customer was the BT Group, and continues to be a big B2B customer of ours. And over the years working in that space, we've developed a proposition now that enables a very quick time to market with our product. You know, we've got standard interfaces. We provide real-time, cloud-enabled application capability with a lot of the front-end self-service capabilities that we've been talking about. But more importantly, I think it's the 30 years of best practices that we've built up. And we've wrapped it into sort of I call it B2B MVNO in a box type solution, which key thing here is this is a space that's emerging. So not everything is known yet. It's important that businesses that want to experiment in this place can get up a proof of concept really, really quickly. You know, you're not going to embark on 12 to 18 or 24-month digital transformation projects. You want a separate stack, get it up and running really quickly, get a proof of concept going, tweak it, figure out what's working, figure out what's not working. And when you get to the point that you feel you've got something you can work with, scale it really, really quickly. A lot of legacy stacks that are sitting out there at the moment do not have that flexibility and nimbleness, and neither do they have the ability to pivot and scale in a different direction very quickly. So that's just something that we believe we can offer to the marketplace. So as I close the presentation, I want to use another example. Again, I think the fact that there's lots of examples here means that, you know, we can really feel that this is a market that's beginning to explode. And it's around Uber Chip. So what Uber Chip is doing is through Uber Chip, Uber is selling connectivity onto its networks, to its drivers and partners, like Uber Eats, for example. All of those individuals that are either drivers or working for one of their partners are typically engaged through their own phone. And those phones are going to have data plans and payment, whatever plans, but they're going to be personal to that individual. What Uber Chip is to provide is working together with an MVNO, Surf Telecom, and working with running on the TIM network. Uber can provide all of the services that it needs to deliver to its drivers and delivery partners on a zero-rated basis. So it means drivers are not using up their own plans to interact, to use the communication network that they need to be an Uber driver. Everything that's delivered is delivered at a 0 rating. And it also provides access to complementary applications like Waze to drivers, who need the navigation. So another great example here of a business curator, in this case Uber, wanting to provide innovative services to its business partners that it needs to deliver its own service to the consumers. So on that point, I'm going to say thank you for listening. Clearly, I could speak forever on this subject. It's something that MDS is very close to, but I hope that we'll get some interesting questions at the Q&A afterwards. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. And I'm now going to hand over to Yarab from Virgin Media in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Thank you once again, and over to you, Yarab.